Now, it's 17 years since Craiglachie served as the somewhat unlikely location for peace talks between Armenia and Azerbaijan, bringing the two sides together in an attempt to settle their long-running conflict over the disputed enclave Nagorno Karabakh. Those talks ended with a shared commitment that peace would be the only acceptable resolution. But 17 years on, peace appears a distant prospect. The fighting has escalated over the past week, with both sides defying calls for a truce. Dennis Sammut is the director of Links Europe and managing editor of the news and analysis website commonspace.eu. He was instrumental in orchestrating the 2003 talks in Scotland and joins us now. Dennis, a very good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
Just update us then on the latest situation on the ground there. Fighting has escalated.
Well, there has been a ceasefire in place in and around Nagorno Karabakh since 1994, but it has been regularly broken. However, in the last few days, we've seen an escalation on unprecedented levels. So a lot of heavy weaponry is being used. There are already casualties running into the hundreds. And it's clear that this is not now a simple skirmish, but actually the start of something much more serious.
So what's led to this renewed fighting?
Well, essentially, the two sides have been engaged in a peace process led by the OSCE Minsk group for many, many years. And there has been frustration that this peace process was not giving any results. There have been incidents occurring pretty much on a daily basis in the last few months, and it was clear that something was building up to the sort of scenario that we are seeing at the moment. So the fighting is very intensive, and it's in a very difficult geographical terrain. So it's not easy for either side to score successes. So it could be that it can last for a long time without anything very much changing on the ground.
And there are civilian victims in amongst those deaths, a lot of refugees in the area as well.
Yes, unfortunately, this is really the sad part of the story, that this conflict has already displaced hundreds of thousands of refugees, mainly Azerbaijanis, but also some Armenians. And these refugees still long to go back to their homes, which remain pretty much destroyed in territories, some of them in no man's land between one side and the other. And in the latest fighting, we already have confirmed reports of several dozen refugees on both sides. And I think these numbers will grow as the situation evolves over the next few days.
Yeah, before we talk about what the solution might be, take us back to 2003. Why were the talks between the two sides held here in Scotland?
Well, this was a parliamentary process. So we initiated a process to get members of parliament from Armenia and Azerbaijan into a dialogue process, and part of it was in a regional format, the South Caucasus Parliamentary Initiative, so it involved also Georgian members of parliament. But in Craiglachie, we actually had a bilateral face-to-face meeting between members of parliament of Armenia and Azerbaijan for a very deep and serious discussion. These were times when a solution still looked possible. And what our efforts were directed at building a momentum for peace by introducing a number of dialogue processes and confidence-building measures. Craiglachie was one of them. We chose Scotland because Scotland was at an interesting moment at that time, perhaps still is, of constitutional evolution. And
it's the early days of devolution, I suppose, indeed, in 2003. Indeed.
And there was a lot of interest in the South Caucasus about how that was working. So we thought we'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll have the dialogue meeting, but we'll also give an opportunity to these politicians to actually see the Scottish experience at work. And you know, I mean, we had a lot of support from the Scottish Parliament in organising this event, and also from politicians in Scotland, like Angus Robertson, Lord McCluskey, Baroness Smith, and so on. So it was an effort to try to share experience and perhaps help bring in some new ideas about how the Karabakh conflict can...
Was it helpful? Was there any positive result from the talks?
Well, I can tell you from those talks in Craigleith, where a process of dialogue between the parliaments started that went on for several years. And it was one of the few positive elements in what has been, on the whole, a story of sad experiences. So it was helpful. Obviously, it was just, in a sense, a drop in the ocean, because a lot more of those sorts of activities would be needed to bridge a divide, to heal the scars that have been created by this conflict over many years. So this conflict has been running now for 30 years. It is one of the saddest stories of unresolved conflicts in Europe. And I think this fighting in the last few days has brought it back to the world's attention. And hopefully something will be done now to take this forward.
Well, we very much hope so. Dennis, thanks for your time this morning. That was Dennis Sammut there. He's the director of Links Europe and managing editor of the news and analysis website commonspace.eu as well.